be streaming. So, should probably turn my phone on silent. Alright, got the Twitter stuff sent out. Need to make sure that I mute my Twitch page. And hooray, looks like we're good. So, hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is April 1st, April Fool's Day. And this is the April 1st Text West Devstream. Hopefully today will go alright, you know, Murphy's Law and April Fool's Day and all that, who knows what could happen. So, in any case, today we're going to be doing some more custom content creation stuff. Specifically, I think the thing we're going to try to do today is getting arrows to draw between rooms as you create them and connect them. So to show you what I mean, start with a blank map. We're going to create a new room. We'll call this room 1. Nothing special about it. Let's drag it off to the side here. New room. We'll call this one room 2. Okay, and now, let's say I want to connect room 1 to room 2, so I'm going to add an exit. Still got to figure this out. I'm still trying to figure out why these don't really show up. I'm going to say if we go east, then we're going to connect to room 2, and then we will say close. So currently, nothing happens to show that. But what we would want to happen, ideally, is like an arrow would come from room 1, going all the way over to room 2. That would sort of keep up with it no matter where I dragged it. I still got to fix that problem too, don't I? Never quite figured out why it's doing that. It's not quite one-to-one matching where I'm dragging. You can see it sort of gets further left as I drag and further right as I drag. It's really weird like that. No idea. Anyway, so that's going to be the first thing we do today. We'll see how far we get with that. Shouldn't be too bad, although it might involve some unfortunate math. Anywho, let's go ahead and open this up. I also spent a little bit of time before the stream started trying to get Streaming Labs working, which is like a Twitch integration, so I have no idea if that's functional or not. All the test stuff for it seems to be fine, but, you know, test cases never really work out now, do they? Alright, so we're going to have a custom game map view. We're going to have a connection prefab, of which nothing really is happening right now. And actually, so I know I started on the connection stuff, but I don't think I really need to do much with it. I think I might actually need to change how this is functioning. So we're going to change this to a int base room is equal to nothing. Target room is also going to be an int, and those are just going to be our IDs that we look for. We'll say base room ID and then target room ID. And let's see, so we have our cached rect, which is fine, and that should be fine. Okay. We are probably going to have some sort of function like public void update connection. And all this is really going to do is we need to make sure that whenever we drag those nodes around that this connection stays pointing at the correct node and all that. So let's go ahead and refresh. And I suppose we're going to want to set up, let me think about how I want to do this. We're going to need to calculate out the angle between these two rooms and then figure out how we actually want to display that. So let's go ahead and let's see. We have our room node. And our room node is a very, very basic thing. It's just that. And our connection is probably going to be something similar, mainly an arrow, I'm guessing. And actually, do I even have an arrow? I have, well, there are some arrows in the project, but they are not very good. Well, let's go ahead and add that real quick. I'm going to open up Photoshop. Get us a wonderful, perfect arrow sprite. Let's go ahead and say new. I don't know, width of 64 by 32 I think would be plenty. this. Let's give our background some color. Too close, huh? There we go. Let's get a new layer in there. And we're just going to make this solid white for now. I'm not really I don't really care too much about its real shape beyond having a arrow. Actually, I think there's a shape tool, and I can never remember what it is. Custom shape tool. I'm just going to be super lazy and do this. So close. Let's see. Shape tool. Drag that down. It's always like one too big. Makes it very annoying. That's good enough. Okay. So I'm just going to save this, and let's see. I'm going to save it out into game development, Unity, text quest, art, textures, UI, and I'm just going to call this map arrow, I suppose. Save that out. PNG. Okay. And then let's navigate to that real quick. Unity, text quest, art, textures, UI, and right there. Okay. Where do we want to put that? I'm gonna put it in with the prefabs for now. I know that's poor form, but we'll fix it in a second. So I want to put it in assets. Yeah, I'll put it in assets. I'll find a better spot after the stream tonight or today. I'm not too. This is just temporary anyway. So let's go ahead and say UI, apply. All right, so we have our map arrow, and that means that we can. Out of here, we have our map background, map border, connections area, and we're gonna go ahead and create a image. For some reason, I am having. There it is. Jeez, had trouble finding that for some reason. Drag that in. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and move my room node a little bit so I don't have to have that in the middle. And I almost forgot, we actually need to edit this. So we want this to stretch from the left side, so we're going to do something like this. Apply. And that means that it's going to basically allow us to stretch this from the center here. That way we don't have a very long arrow, we just have a very long center with a point on the end. So let's go ahead, that's applied. And now if we change this down to sliced, you can see that it changes how that works. So let's shrink this height down to 50, looking a little bit better. And now if I made this like 300, this point would look the same no matter what. I'm actually going to say 25 is probably fine for our height. Excuse me. And everything else for the width is just kind of whatever. So we can make it, let's make it like 200. No. Where's my mouse cursor? 200. That's fine. And let's go ahead and create a. Do I need a parent really? I don't think I do. I think I can just do it on one object. So I'm just going to call this map or room connection. All right. Add a component. Connection. Simple as that. Don't need anything else really. So, okay then. I guess. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I guess the hard part is going to be coming in when we try to basically get this to map to the corners of our room title. Because this is a dynamic box, it's not a set size, which means that we would have to retrieve the size of the node and then use that to calculate out where the point of the arrow should go. Same for its butt. We need to know where both sides of the arrow are going to be in relation to a rectangular node. Okay, so let's get our math on. This is going to be fun. I'm going to go ahead and add a private room node, is that what I called it? Base room, private room node, target room. Okay. And let's go ahead and open up the room node behavior, because I'm going to have to add a function to this that is largely just something that will, let me grab this. It's basically just going to get this bounding rect so that I can tell how wide I need to be. So let's see, room node. I do have a cached rect, but it's protected. Okay. Let's just try public rect. Actually, that's going to go above. I have a very strict order that I like to try and keep. So public, if I could spell public, rect. I guess I'll call it room rect for lack of a better term. I'm going to say get return cached rect dot rect. Simple as that. And that rect is just the rect that is the bounds of our rect transform. So we're going to use that when we're calculating out our room connection points. So let's see here. First things first, we need to get the distance between the two nodes. And I actually, before we do that, we're going to say if base room equals null, or not ragged, target room is equal to null, then we are going to do something, and we will return. Probably we're just going to erase this own connection. But otherwise, let's see, we're going to say, and actually I will say search for room nodes and clean up connection if one is missing. That's largely so if we delete a room, then we'll be able to handle that. Hello, 18 Mark Wick. Welcome back. How are you today? Let's see. Currently we're doing room connections, so getting arrows to actually go between two different rooms and update as you drag them around. So let's see. We're going to want to say rect base rect equals base room dot rect, and then rect target rect equals target room dot rect. Okay. Now, once we have both of those, we can start doing some other things. To start off, actually, we're going to say float distance is equal to, oh, and you know what? I guess I'm going to have to expose this. So, hooray. Let's go ahead and rename that to cache transform. Same thing with this. Rename this to cache transform. All right. Doing potatoes. All right. Sounds like a good meal. So we get our cache transform. We made that public because now I need to say base room dot cache transform dot anchored position minus target room dot cache transform dot anchored position. Oh right. Sorry, that's supposed to be a vector2 dot distance. There we are. So now we have our distance between these 2 points, the center of these 2 points to be exact. So, excuse me. Still got nasty stuff in my throat, I guess. Yeah, it's April Fool's Day, which I kind of had to think twice about streaming today just because I'm never sure, and I don't know. It kind of sucks to go on the internet on April 1st. Just because, everyone does really crazy stuff. I think Will Arnett is live casting just him talking about an office on Netflix or something. Um, I don't know. Let's see here. So now that we have our distance, we can use that to determine how long we need our width to be. And once we have that, we can try to get our points that we need. So to start off, I'm not going to try to snap it to be like to the corners of our room nodes. I'm just going to have it draw to the center probably, and then we'll figure things out from there. So let's see here. We're going to want to say, oh, you know what? I bet I could actually make this protected again, and then come back down here and just say the distance is between the center of the base and target rect. Base rect dot center, and then target rect dot center. Nice and easy. that that seems like it would take a lot of zip ties. How did you even get that many zip ties? That's a lot of zip ties. Um, all right, so we have our distance, and that means that I can do, say, I don't know why I call them cached recs. I like to call these cached transforms normally. I must have just been doing something stupid. Okay. Oh, and I gotta rename it because, of course, it didn't capitalize the T. There we are. So we're gonna say cache transform dot size delta dot x is equal to distance, or size delta thing. Really fine, equals new vector 2 cache transform. Oh wait, no, actually I want that. Distance is going to be my x value, and then cache transform dot size delta dot y is going to be my height value. Okay. $100 on zip ties. Yeah, that seems about right. So this will get it to stretch to be the distance between the two, but now we need to get the angle. And how, I gotta remember how we do that. Oh man, this was the fun math. I've done something like this once before, like a node-based map. And I remember that this was the part that sucked the most, is getting the angle. Because I think we want to get a direction. No, I think we can actually do like vector 2 dot angle, can't we? Yeah. So let's try doing that with base rect dot center, then base rect, or not base rect, target rect dot center. Okay. Or say float angle is equal to that. Okay, once we have both of those, I should be able to apply that. So we're going to say cache transform dot local rotation equals quaternion dot Euler new vector 3 0 f 0 f, and then angle. Okay, so let's try that. I couldn't get into GTA Online. It just, I don't know, wasn't particularly interesting for me. I mean, props to them for making such a, like, putting so much effort into it, but it was just not that interesting, really, in my opinion. Because they had the whole Trevor cutscenes and everything. But, um, hmm. So now I need to actually update the room connections. Although before I can do that, I need to make sure that I have a list of them. I do have a list. Am I doing anything with this? Probably in generate connections, yes. Do I have one for adding connections? No. So I need to add a connection. I need a function for that. Generate nodes. On node fade out, on node begin drag, on node move, clicked stats, legends, new room clicked. Here we are. Um, Perhaps I should call like a refresh or something. Yeah, I have a refresh map. Oh, there we go. Generate connections. Okay, so recycle connections for everything in connections JSON. Oh dear. Oh god, no, we don't want to do that. Uh, Wait, how am I generating nodes if I'm not doing that? Ah, right. Okay. So yeah, we don't need this. Or rather, we don't want that. So we're going to have to come down here, and we're going to have to change how we're doing this. So I'm going to come up here to my rooms. Alright. We're going to say list room info rooms equals global. And dot. Do I have connections? Of course not. Okay. So go to this. Just means that I haven't added it yet. Alright, so we have room positions. And next, actually, I need to go to custom game section, don't I? Because this is going to have a list of the room, or of the connections. Let's see. So we have room info, rooms, and then we're going to want to have public list connection. Okay, so I don't have connection infos yet. So we're going to come back here. I'm going to comment pretty much all of this out for now. And then we will fix it. Alright, let that compile. Let's see. Room. Shazam. You can load. There we go. So we're going to say room info. Okay. Data. We're going to do create folder connections. Create C# script. Room connection info. Actually, you know what? Does it make sense for us to have room exits? Do I already have that? I bet it's contained inside the room info itself, isn't it? Crap. Yeah, it is. Oh, that's not great. Let me think. I guess that means that I don't technically need to have a different list because it's contained in there, which just means that it kind of sucks. Let me think. I guess I can put that in the custom author section just so that's easier. So let's go ahead and say private list room connection info. And I guess we'll say room connections here equals new list, blah, blah. Because I don't really need the room connections. They're kind of a visual thing, so I don't need them in the base custom game session, but I do need them in the custom game author session because that's going to have all the visual stuff in it. So let's go ahead and go back here. Open this up. Here, make it. Do I want to make it serializable? I probably should. Yeah, alright. Let's go ahead and say sleepyowl.common JSON serializable. Control dot. Okay, so we'll go ahead and create those. Oh, right. JSON object, JSON equals new JSON object, turn JSON. Alright. So, now we need to actually populate this. Well, actually, I feel like I could probably just load in room information and then generate the room connections afterwards. Yeah. Because they're not really doing anything. They don't contain any information. They are purely visual. For now, do I want to do anything weird? No, I don't. I can't think of a reason that I would want them to not just be purely visual. So I don't think I need to add anything extra to them really. But maybe I should allow you to change colors. Okay, yeah, I'll let them customize it or something. Let's see here. I'm gonna say public color connection color equals color dot white by default. That's pretty much it, I suppose. That's all I can think of for now. And the reason I'm thinking about doing that, exposing that. Hello, USS Langley. Glad you could drag yourself out of the ocean to join us. Welcome to the Devstream. We're currently working on custom content creation stuff. So let's see here. So we could allow the user to basically customize the color of the arrow. Of course, they'll be able to specify a default color that they want all of their arrows to draw at, but I don't know, it might be nice to let people say, like, this is the forest area, so all of my connections, I want to make them like a green color, just so that it's easy to tell where you're going. So, it never hurts to have an extra bit of customization that people can have, but that they don't have to use. So, let's see here. In addition to that, I'm also going to need custom, did I call it custom game utility? Never remember. Custom content utility. So let's see. Rooms, exits. And we're going to say connections. So public const string. I can't type. Connection color equals color. So let's see. I guess before I do anything too crazy with things like color, I should just get the actual, node functioning. What with the whole never count your chickens before they hatch. So let's just try to get a arrow drawing between two rooms real quick before I dive down this rabbit hole of customization. So I don't really need room connection info, except I kind of do. I need no. I'm gonna try to build it just from the room the room info real quick. So let's see here. I'm gonna come up here to custom game map view, generate sections. All right. So let's go ahead and do this. We're gonna get our .room info. So this will give us a list of all of our rooms and all of their exits. And from there, we can try to build out our connections. So I'm going to say, as long as it's less than rooms, .length, I guess it's .count. And after that, let's see, connection, we can't even do that. We're actually going to say for int j equals 0, j is less than rooms of I dot exits dot count, then j plus plus. And let's see. So for every one of those exits, we're going to request a connection. And before we do connection from JSON, I think we're just going to straight up say, we probably should have a initialize function, shouldn't we? Okay. So let's go ahead and say public. I can't type today for some reason. Public void. I want to say refresh. Now we'll say initialize. Initialize. Jeez. Int base room ID. Int target room ID. And this dot base room ID is equal to base room ID. This dot target room ID is equal to target room ID. Da, 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 da. And then we'll say update connection. And now I need to actually be able to get the rooms because they're going to be null by default. So let's see here. I believe I'm going to want to say, where are you? Here we are. Custom game map view. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say global.get, do all this fun stuff. And then I'm going to say dot get room, I believe is what I want. So I can get room ID, get the room info, but I can't get the room node, huh? I thought I had a thing for that, but maybe I don't. I suppose, yeah, that would kind of be weird. Gross. So if that's the case, I'll pass it. I'll pass those nodes in, I guess. So let's go ahead and say room node, room node, base room node, target room node. Oh, you know, I'll just shorten it to target node. Say target ID and base ID as well. And then we'll say base room is equal to base node. Target room is equal to target node. And oh, you know what? USS Lingy, I don't know if I asked how you were doing today. Man, I've just been so rude this week. Every time I forget to ask people how they're doing. Well, not every time, most of the time. But anyway, so I'm not going to worry about the safety check right now. So we will have our nodes set up, and then we can do all this stuff. So over here, we're going to say connection.initialize, and okay, here's where it gets fun. We're going to say rooms of I.id, I believe is what I want to say. Yes. Followed by rooms of I dot exits of J dot target. Okay. Then let's see, hold on. Can I do this conveniently? Yes, no, maybe so. Let's see. Nope. Freaking wonderful. So let's see here. Then I'm just going to have to do that real quick. Let's see. We're going to say I need a function for this. So I'm going to come up here to, I guess, public for now. Might as well. And we're going to say public room node get node based on an int ID. And we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than room node. Okay. What I call them nodes. Dot count. I plus plus. And then we're going to say if nodes of I dot ID, crap, dot, I have to say room data dot ID is equal to ID. Then we will return nodes of I. And if nothing, we will return null. So we're going to say get node, get that, then get node, and that. Oops. There we are. So that should at least get it spawning. I wish my voice didn't start to sound gross after like 5 seconds. Need like a lozenge or something. Let's see, connections add. Okay. So this should at the very least get something happening, whether it's a null reference or whatever. Whatever, you know, it's something. So let's see here. Custom game map. And okay, so we're gonna need a prefab for the room connection. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and drag this over to here. Alright, nothing crazy there. Let's come over here. Get our room connection going. And I think that should, it's not going to rotate properly, or at least I doubt it will. But we, oh wait, no, you know what, what's not going to happen is, no, actually it will. Never mind. I thought for a second that it wouldn't actually spawn it because I wasn't calling it, but I uncommented that line. So let's go ahead and make a new room. Let's call it room 1. Let's close. Okay, nothing. That's good. I'm going to call this room 2. Close. Let's add an exit over to room 2. And nothing happened. Okay. Actually, that's a lie. Something did happen, but its width is 0? That I do not believe. I do believe that my angle of rotation is bonkers, but I don't believe that it's got a distance of 0. So that's not great. The distance between the base rect dot center and the target rect dot center. Oh, hold on. Custom game back here. We're gonna come to generate connections. I wonder. Oh God. Yeah, it's gonna recycle. That's horribly inefficient, I suppose. So the problem is that it's generating all of the nodes and the connections on the same frame, and that means that for one frame, all of those vector positions, the center of their recs, is going to be 0. But, you know, I don't know if that actually matters. I probably don't need to constantly rebuild the entire map. I don't know, maybe it would be better to just, instead of total refreshing, have a soft refresh that only adds the differences. I guess that's going to be kind of awkward to take into account, though. Let's go ahead and do a, like, bool hard refresh equals false. And a hard refresh is just going to be something that completely cleans it and rebuilds it from the ground up. So let's go ahead and pass in like hard refresh to both of these. this, paste that in, and paste that in. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll say, let's see, if hard refresh, we will recycle. I'm going to get our room information, and let's see. What we'll do is we'll say if get room or get node rooms of I dot room data or room ID, I suppose. So if it gets that node is equal to or is not equal to null, not one equal, not equal, then we will continue. Otherwise, we're gonna just add it. So that should handle that. Do I want to position nodes coroutine? Peak definition, we have to yield return null. Oh, I guess I don't need to do that. Okay, well, let's just comment you out then. Let's see here. And what we're going to do here is say if hard refresh. All right. And then we'll say, see, this is going to be the tricky one. Ay. How am I going to check if a connection exists? I would need to know the target IDs. Ugh. Okay. So we have a list of connections. We have a list of nodes. Basically, I would need to have a. I guess no, I couldn't do a dictionary. That wouldn't work. I was going to say I could do a dictionary of of an integer and an integer, with the first integer being the room ID for the room with the exit, and then the second integer being the target room. But that would prevent multiple exits from the same room, so that's not going to work. I really don't want to make another custom class. I really don't want to do that. So I might have to do that. Dang it. Gross. Fine. I guess I don't really have much of a choice. Well, actually, hold on. No, yeah. I would need to have another class for that. Gross. Why can't I just... No. No, you know what? No, I don't. No. I don't have to do that. I can do... Let's see, get node. Let's go ahead and do public. If I could spell public. Room connection. Get connection. Int base ID. Int target ID. Okay. And then we'll say for int I equals 0, I is less than connections dot count I plus plus. And we'll say if connections of I dot base room ID is equal to base ID and connections of I dot target room ID is equal to target ID, will return that connections, or that connection, I suppose. And once we get through all of that for loop, we're just going to say return null. So if nothing shows up, then we'll just return nothing. And that means that I can come down here and say, if get connection rooms of I dot room ID then rooms of I dot exits j dot target. Then, just like before, we're going to say continue. So this now it should just add the difference if it's not a hard reset. So let's go ahead and try that and see if that fixes our 300 width problem. If that actually worked, that's even better anyway, because that means that we're not constantly recycling and then rebuilding all of these, all the map. We're only building the difference. So that's always a good thing. All right, so let's give this a test. New room. Why does it take forever to let me click on the first one? It's very strange. Room 2. Sorry, room 1. Close. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Freaking really? Oh, you know what it is? Ah, oh, dang it. Part of the refresh info, let me guess, is to initialize it. Yep. Well, perhaps I could just get around that by doing this. Okay. Maybe that will work. So I'll still update the name, I suppose. Ugh. But it might be better to have some sort of better callback system in the future for that. There's no real reason for me to just redraw all of those every single time. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, let's test it. So, room 1, close. Yep, that did it. Okay, this will make room 2. Close. Let's go ahead and make this go to room 2. And close. And again? Seriously? Still a thing of 3, huh? It's also positioned right smack dab in the center. Ah, crap. Hold on. I think I need to have an actual yield for this one. Let's see. Position connections, coroutine. It's generating the connections. So let's go ahead and go to definition. And I suppose we'll have to say for int I equals 0, I is less than connections dot count I plus plus. We're going to say connections of I dot update connection. I think that will hopefully position it, because at the very least it means that it won't be spawned in on that frame, so there shouldn't be any sort of weird UI oddities. Let's see. Okay, it's compiled. Okay, new room. We'll just call this new room 1. Drag that off to the side. Good enough for me. 2, close. Damn it! Seriously? It's always 0. Let's go ahead and throw a debug in there just to be sure. Log test. I just want to make sure that I'm not doing anything really bad. Should be. See, yeah, it's starting the coroutine. Well, let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure that it is doing it. It's just not doing it right. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and go to our room connection. I'm going to debug the centers for these base recs just to be sure. Debug.log, stream.format, blah, 0 and 1, and that is going to be base rect dot center and target rect dot center. All right. So let's let that compile and Shazam. Abracadabra. There we go. So let's go ahead and do a new room. Call this new room 2. Close, drag that off to the side, new room, add an exit, to new room, close, and I'm guessing both, yep, 0, 0, and 0, 0. Except that one is super weird, because that should not be the case. Let me check. Room rect, go to definition, transform.rect. I can't imagine that would really. Well, I suppose just to double check, or to be absolutely sure, let's go ahead and just say public vector2 anchored position. We say get return cache transform dot anchored position. That's a vector2, and then we'll just retrieve that. So come over here, and we'll say base room dot anchored position. Target room. Let's see. Same thing here. Target room. And it's going to be pretty much all the fun debugging stuff. Okay. So let's go ahead and let that go in. I'll be curious to see if that's still, excuse me, 0, 0. It would be very weird. So let's go ahead and come up here. New room, new room. Let's go to the second new room. Ha! So I guess something about, I bet recs are using local transforms or something. So maybe a rect, no matter where it is, its center is going to be 0, 0, 0. So let's see. We have our arrow. It is not at all correct. Oh, and that's that's something that I forgot. I need to position it. I'm rotating it and setting its size, but I'm not actually positioning it. So we need to say cache transform dot anchored position is equal to vector2 dot lerp between base room and target room anchored position at 0.5f, halfway between them exactly. There we go. Quick drink. All right. So compile and go. New room, new room, add exit, close out. All right, so as we can see, it's not perfect. In fact, right now it's going the opposite direction. But I'm curious. Oh. Hold on. Custom game map view on node. End drag. Let's go ahead and say we need to update our connections again after all of that. So we're going to say on node ndrag, set that up. And we'll see how that goes. So that, hopefully now whenever I drag a node around, it should update its connection. Currently, it's probably going to update technically every connection in the map, and what we would ideally want it to do is just update its own connection. Drag that over here, add an exit, close out. Okay. So, oh, right. Okay, so we don't want it on ndrag. We actually want it. We actually want it on drag. Okay. Oh God. Oh dear. We're gonna want a list, I think, of connections associated with each node, and then we will probably need to update them as they move. So, I'm gonna come over to where's my room node? Here we are. Hover begin, hover end. Okay. I think I'm actually going to want to. So where's this being used? Node moved. Is it even being used anywhere? It's being used on drag. This is going to be a little tough. So I guess I'm going to actually say public event node drag. Node dragging equals delegate. So we're going to add this, that way we can fire it. So we're going to say node drag in this. Okay. And when we fire that every frame, we'll be able to tell our custom game map view that we need to update that specific connection. Or rather, any connections associated with that that node. Find all references. Where am I using this? I'm going to change that. So this is going to be on node dragged. All right, let's come up to here. Node dragging on node dragged. On node dragged. Node dragging. And same thing. On node dragged and node dragging. And let's say, so before we can do anything there, we are going to need to have, let's see, a dictionary of a room node and its connections. So we're going to have to say private dictionary room node, then, freak, I hate doing this, list room connection. Okay. And then we'll have node connections equals new blah blah blah. Okay. And let's say get connection, generate nodes, generate connections, and we're going to want to say down here jeez. Oh, jeez. Let me think. Hold on. List connection. Wow, this is not going to go well. Base connections equals room connection. Okay. Wait, what did I call it? I called it room connections, didn't I? Oh, I called it node connections. Of course I did. To make things easier on myself. Node connections of... Now we need to get a room node, so we're going to have to say get node. Okay. Now, actually we're not done yet. So we have to say node connections dot contains key that question mark else new list that. All right, and actually, you know what? Since it's a room, I can use an int instead of a connection, or instead of a node, an actual room node. So let's go ahead and just do int, because that will mean it's just the ID. Makes it much easier. So let's see here. Means I can shorten this. Get room. Don't need that anymore. Okay, a lot easier. And let's see here. I guess we'll go ahead and call it room connections. And then we're going to say room connections dot add connection. Okay. And then we're going to say node connections of rooms of I dot room ID equals room connections. I wonder if I can get away with not having to cache that list value. Yeah, I think I can. So hold on. I'm going to rephrase that a little bit just so that I'm not constantly generating lists. Instead, I'm going to say if not this. So if the connections have not been initialized for that room yet, we're going to say node connections of this is equal to a new list of room connections. All right. And then we don't have to worry about this entire line. Get rid of that. And we can just say node connections here dot add. Okay, makes it much easier. Don't even need to do that anymore. All right. And next, we can do pretty much the exact same thing, except instead of the rooms of room ID, we're going to do it with the target room. So x target. Hold on. It's j dot target. Okay. Dang it! Did I paste over it? Of course I did. Because I can never have some nice thing. Oh no, I didn't. It's just very tiny. All right. And let me think. Is there anything else I would need to do there? No, that seems to be correct. So let's try that and see what happens. So we're gonna come back down here and we're gonna say if node connections dot contains key node dot room data dot room ID. All right. Then we're going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than node connections of this dot count I plus plus. And we're going to say, wow, that just comes off horribly. of I dot update connection. So let's see. I'm curious if that'll even work. Let's see if that functions. And let's get rid of these debugs because I no longer need them. You and I do not need. Oh right, it's in the room connection. I'll comment you out because I think I'm going to need some debugging later on. So let's see if it actually looks right. And actually, by looks right, I mean moves. Because I know that it's going to look wrong. But we'll see how bad it looks, I guess. Because essentially, depending on what area the room nodes are in, I have to sort of like flip the arrow. So let's come back here, add an exit, pointing to the second new room. Yeah. Yeah, see, I have to like awkwardly flip the arrow. Because if this was flipped by about 90 degrees, it would be correct. So you can see like right about here, it's right. But once we get past a certain angle, it's kind of wonky. I think it's split into basically 4 quadrants, and those quadrants are basically, I think it's 0 to 45 degrees, which would be here, and then 45 to 135, and so on in increments of 90, which is why it's correct here, and I want to say here. Yeah. Actually, no, that's incorrect. That's flipped upside down. Since this, so it's only correct right here, really. And that's correct is used very loosely, obviously. Uh, so, yeah, we're gonna have to handle that, which is super fun. Bah, bah, bah. Okay. So let's see. How do I want to handle this? There's an actual mathematical equation for this, and I can never remember what it is because it's a lot of sine and cosine stuff, which is always fun. Let's see. See, and like that's about correct. If it was right there. And in the end, our idea is that we're not going to have them be pointing directly to the center. Instead, they're going to neatly sort of point. It's like it's based on distance. That's where it causes it to flip. That's really weird. Huh. That hardly seems right. But then again, what do I know? So, yeah, this is going to be fun. Let's see here. We have our rotation. Let's go ahead and debug our angle, just because I'm curious. This, and we're just going to say angle. And at this point, the distance is technically correct. It's not going to be 100% correct until we get an accurate angle, because once we have an accurate angle, then we can slice up the rects for our nodes. And then we can say, okay, so I'm coming in at this angle, which means what point am I going to have on the outer bounds of your rectangle. And then we'll be able to use those to get the actual distance that we want it to go to. So let's go ahead and add a new room. Over here, new room. Add an exit, point to the second new room. Okay. So you can see that it rotates pretty quickly to about 69 degrees, about 70 degrees, which is correct because 0 is to the right, just straight in the x-axis, and then we're going to be going counterclockwise. So 0, 90, 180, 270, and 360. So if we keep dragging over to the right, that's interesting. It starts going the wrong way. Oh man, I gotta remember how I did this in the past. It's been so long since I've had to deal with this. I think it might have involved trigonometry, which really is crazy. No, what am I talking about? It's not trigonometry. This is freaking basic Pythagorean theorem. I just need to find. Well, actually, no, it's not Pythagorean theorem. I think it's Sakatoa, which I think is trigonometry, or is that just geometry? No, it's trig. In any case, basically, so think about this as a triangle. I have two of my points. Actually, no, I have all 3 points that I need. I have the leftmost point at the bottom left. I have the top point at the top right, and then between those two, I will know the maximum x, which is the top node, and then the minimum y, which is the bottom node. So I can use those to form the third point. And once I have that, I can use basically angles to get my the angle that I really want. So this is going to be some fun math. Let's see here. So my angle isn't going to be as simple as doing vector2.angle, which is unfortunate. And I'm pretty sure that this angle is not actually meant to calculate out based on position data. It's meant to be calculated out based on rotational direction data, which is not quite what we want. Although that would give us... You know what? I wonder if I can get around it by doing that. Let me try something real quick. Let me see what my other options are. Vector 2 dot angle clamp distance dot down equals move towards damp. Okay. I'm gonna try doing directions for this. So let's go ahead and say float angle is equal to vector 2 dot angle, and then we're gonna do, this is gonna be fun, base room dot anchored position minus target room dot anchored position, and that's going to give me the direction between those two. Then I'm going to need to do vector 2 dot right, I think. So I'm curious to see what this is going to do. And then once we have that, I'm going to normalize this, I guess. Dot normalized. Okay. I'm curious to see what's going to happen there. We might just get really, really weird numbers. But if my hunch is right, that actually should work. So let's find out. New room. New room. Add exit to the second new room. That is almost correct. Well, that just saved me a ton of effort. Hooray. And like I was saying, I'm basically going to have to only really swap this angle at, let's see, I'm debugging these. If the angle is, this is going to be between 180 and 0, and then it's going to flip back around. I suppose I could cheat and say just if my y on the target room is, or on the base room is smaller than my y on the new room. Let's see if that holds weight. Yep. Okay. Fair enough. And I'm going to want to flip it backwards, essentially. So add 180 degrees. No, add 90 degrees, I believe is what I want. Well, hooray for workarounds. So let's go ahead and say, if base room dot anchored position dot y is less than target room dot anchored position dot y, then we're going to say angle minus equals 90 degrees Fahrenheit, or not 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 90 degrees. Let's see if that works properly. I do think I'm going to actually have to have two special cases, one for if it's less than y and less than x, and one for if it's less than y and greater than x. And we'll see what that ends up doing. Okay. So, come on, new room. Drag you out over here, new room. Add exit. New room, hit close. Okay, so I actually want it to go the other way. Yes, I want it to go the other way, so I want to add, not subtract. Okay, see if that works. Oh, man. Man, I'm very happy that I thought of that, because that saved me a whole lot of effort. I was going to have to do like a whole thing on math and getting angles, and now I don't have to do that. So, hooray. Okay, add exit to room, hit close. Dang it, really? It's not good enough, huh? Huh. Yeah. I suppose that's fair. So it's doing like a whole 180-degree rotation. Um, and that's not quite what we want to do. I'm going to get rid of that angle addition, and I'm just going to see what it looks like again when it's neutral. So let's see. And Shazam. All right, play. And new room. Drag that off. New room. Drag that off. Go into the new room. Hit close. So it's correct here. And then it basically flips 180 degrees. Was I right? Did I just need to flip it 180 instead of 90? No, that doesn't seem correct. Huh. So if I added 180, because 180 degrees would just make it flip so the arrow is pointing down this way. I think that means that I actually want to subtract this value from 180. So let's try that. Angle equals 180f minus angle. Curious. See what happens there. Gotta love finessing math. It's always the most fun part about programming. So, compile. There we go. Aha! Machines are slaves to my will. Okay, new room. Drag that out. And apparently I accidentally created two. So, let's go ahead and close that out. Uh-oh. I was a little worried about that. I think I accidentally created it on the wrong one. Okay, there we go. So it's correct, and yes! Although that's not great. So it's correct here, but not here. Okay, so if it's above, then I need to actually flip it. Although let me try that again real quick, because the double clicking might have thrown me off. Okay, so let's go ahead and that's fine. New room. Okay, add an exit. So it's correct here. It is not correct there. Okay, so yeah, I do need to flip it 180 degrees otherwise. That's kind of weird, but sure, why not? And then we'll say else angle plus equal 180. Okay. Simple as that. I suppose I could have subtracted 180, but I don't know. I tend to prefer going over 360 as opposed to going below 0. So let's try that again, see if everything looks correct this time. And once we have that, then we can actually start trying to calculate out the bounds for these nodes so that the arrow doesn't just point to the right, directly to the center. Okay. Oh, grab the map by accident. Aha! Look at that. It's so smooth. Do you have anything in the center? Nope. Nice. All right. So we have our arrows pointing now. And next comes the super fun part of basically, oh man, I've done this before and it's not fun math. So I might actually not, well, I might not do that then. The next thing that I'm going to have to do to make these really accurate would be make it so that the connection, instead of using the dead center of our room nodes, it's going to basically try to use fancy math to say where it should actually touch on the border. And then we'll use those 2 points to actually get us the distance that this arrow should point to. But I think I'm going to be lazy for now because that's actually a fair bit of math, and I forget how to do that off the top of my head. So instead of doing that, I'm going to move the connections area to be below our map area. And then I'm going to get rid of this, and we'll see how that looks. Because right now, really, the only important thing is that we have nodes and that we have connections showing that they're connected. So next test is going to be, let's get like 3 or 4 nodes in there and have a couple of nodes going to the same room, or connected to the same room, and see what happens. All right, so let's go ahead and add a new room. I'm going to call this one room 1. Move that off to the left. New room 2. All right. Call this one library. Close. And I don't know. Let's do this one and call it like lobby. Why not? All right, so let's go ahead and say exits from the library to room 1 and to room 2. Close that. Oh dear. Oh dear. Did we have an error? No. That's not great. We just have a connection here going nowhere. Wait, its base room ID is 13? How's that possible? There shouldn't even be 13. Oh, wait, no, that's right. No, they start at 10. So the target room ID should not be 0. That's interesting. Let me try this. Uh-oh. Really? Well, you're interesting. Argument out of range exception. Huh. So my room nodes aren't being generated correctly, it seems. Let's collect. Okay. I'm going to call this room 1. Close out. Okay. We're good here still. Lobby. Close. Okay. Let's add an exit. Let's set it to be room 1. Close out. Alright. So that's correct. Let's add a new room. We'll call this the library. Close. Let's add a exit to the library. Cool. So you can see that that's keeping up with them. And it's pointing in the right direction, although it is a little hard to see that because the arrows are not really visible. Then let's add a new room. Okay, click on this. We'll call this room 2. Close out. Let's add a connection to the library from there. Good. Okay, so the lobby updating doesn't update room 2's, which is good. Library updates its stuff. That's fine. And we do get into another problem, something that I haven't thought about, is what do we want to do? Like, let's say this was a house, and this is sort of like the structure that we have. Um, so I can go, you know, east from the lobby to go into the library, or I can go north from the lobby to go to room one. But that means that I need to be able to go south from room one to get back to the lobby, and west from the library to get back to the lobby as well. Um, but obviously, I can't have two nodes connected in the exact same spot because they would cover each other up, or at least their arrows would. So that means I need to actually have offsets. Oh, jeez. Oh, that's gonna suck so bad. Uh, huh. This. Oh God, I wish I had like a weird piece of paper to show what I'm thinking about would be the problem and the solution. Um, so I think the solution for that would basically be have 2 points that would serve as the sort of like target points rather than the direct center of each node. And then if you have two connections, it's going to use those 2 points, and if you only have one, it's going to use the center. But the problem is that we can't just do it based off of like the left and the right. It needs to be vertical as well, because otherwise, when we do stuff like this, horizontal connections, it will they'll still overlap. So I kind of need to have this weird pivot, two sets of pivot points that rotate around to face the direction that the connections are facing, just plus 90 degrees. God, that's so awkward. Um, so let me think. How do I want to do that? Oh, jeez. Because I'll show you what I mean. Let's go to room one. That's at an exit to the lobby, and that apparently throws a argument out of exception. Really? Where at? Custom room view 152. Custom room view 152. Custom room view line 152. Room info dot exits of index dot target equals node dot target ID. Interesting. Wait, does that mean that the node is null? Or no, it would have to be exits of index. That's interesting. Peek this definition. Oh, yeah, I figured. Huh. So it doesn't like that, huh? Did that fix it or did that make it worse? No, it's broken now. So it's just straight up broken. Can I delete it and then close? And will everything be fine again? I'm going to not maximize on play so I can keep an eye on our console here. Interesting. Can I not add? Okay. Delete that, delete that. Let's go ahead and delete it. Yep, and I guess we have... Huh, we have some strays. So I need to be able to... Oh, that's actually a good point. Um, freaking really? Something about the lobby broke. No. Oh, what the heck happened? They like reshuffled. Wait, hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. It looks like their IDs got messed up. Let's close out. I want to look at my connections. Or my room nodes, I suppose. Let's see. Room node. Of course I didn't serialize this. Let's see. Room node, room data. 11, 13, and 12. That's correct. It should be 11, 12, 13, and 14. I suppose, no, 10. I suppose 10 would be the first one. So 10, 11, 12, and 13. And those seem to be correct, but they're throwing index out of range exceptions for the exits, huh? Interesting. Hold on. So clicking on the lobby throws an error. And it throws an error at that spot, 152. Custom game map view or custom room? Custom room view. Gotta love hunting down errors. Let's see, custom. What? Where is it? It's gone. There we go. Let's see. So 152. Room info. Hello, Alien Gamer. How's the game coming along? It is coming. I'm currently working on custom content creation, and we've run into a weird bug that seems to be throwing an argument out of range exception whenever we start drawing connections between nodes. So let's see here. Room exits index. So I guess let's debug dot log node dot room. Oh, I guess it wouldn't be able to do that, would it? Oh, you know what it is? So this isn't the room node like I thought it was. It's actually the exit node. Okay. Okay, hold on. Exit nodes index of node. Let's debug this index. So debug dot log node dot. I think it should have something like. I guess they're just variables like that. Target dropdown. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to debug the index here to see what it thinks it's passing. Index. We'll see what that looks like. See and release early 2017. No, I'm not. I actually need to change that. I've done a very poor job of getting the release dates correct. Mostly because at some point the scope was a lot more manageable, but then I became much more perfectionist in making sure that everything looks nice and actually is quite enjoyable to play, and that really slowed things down. So I'm going to call this room 1. Close, drag that out. Room 2. So my new goal is actually 2018. I need to update everything to show that. Say lobby, close, and library from here. That's not how you spell library, but whatever. Or no, it is library. Okay, apparently I just whatever. It's good enough. So yeah, it's not going to be coming out this year, just because it's only about 60% done right now. I still need to do the last 4 levels. So we're going to do room 1, and let's add a second one over to the east, going to the library. Close out. Interesting. Our first arrow is screwed up already. So if I click on this, it's broken. Is it because I added 2 at the same time? Maybe it doesn't like that. And I can't get in there to fix it. Let's delete them here. See if that works. Nope. Okay. Worth a shot. Yeah, as far as the release goes, my new goal is probably trying to target like May of 2018, but we'll see how much I can get done before. Let's see, it's April, so actually before May of this year. Because ideally, I would like to have pretty much the entire overworld done by May, and I'm close. Not quite there, but I'm close. And once I have that, then that means I can shift everything to the last 4 levels of the game and get those knocked out. So I'm going to create a new room. I'm going to try making 2 rooms, one for room 1, one for room 2. So let's see. Are you going for Windows, Mac, and Linux since you're using Unity? Yep, that was the goal. Room 2. Go ahead and close that. I guess I need 2 different rooms, don't I? So I'm going to call this one room 3. Goal is Windows, Mac, and Linux. I will hopefully, as we get closer, I'll be able to test more on Linux. I have a Linux partition on my laptop, um, so I'll be able to actually test it. But as far as Mac and Windows goes, those are obviously always going to be the main platform, and then Linux is going to get as much support from me as I can give it. So let's add an exit to room 1, close, and if it's itself, it doesn't seem to like it. Interesting. So I'm gonna just create 2 rooms now, and the first room I'm gonna try to connect to itself and see what it does. So room 1, close, and room 2, close. Add an exit, close out, and it breaks. Okay, and then I'm going to test it by trying to connect it to room 2. So room 2, close. Room 3, close. Add an exit, going to room 3. Interesting. It's something about... Now I'm going to change it to be itself. Huh. No, it's just something about coming in on itself that's the problem. That's so weird. Dumping Windows. No, that's fair. I've been meaning to get more into Linux stuff. Like I said, I have a partition on my laptop. I don't know. There's a lot of software that doesn't quite run on Linux yet, and that makes it hard to make that jump. Um, Although I guess Unity does have a beta editor for it, but it's kind of clearly a back burner project for them. So let me just confirm my theory. So I'm going to call this one room 1. Room 1. Hit close. I'm going to add an exit to room 1, which does nothing. Let's add an exit to room 3. That's correct. I bet I know what it is. Well, at least I hope this is what it is. New room. I'm going to call this one room 4. And I'm not going to hit close. I'm going to immediately jump to adding an exit. Yep. Okay, that's what it is. So that is incredibly weird. Is it because of this? Oh, and that just causes it to break, huh? Let me see. So it has something to do with the name, maybe? Is it because I'm trying to loop through the name? I could see that. That would be weird. I know, I was using the index specifically for that reason. Going full Linux. In my tests, I found a lot of work just fine via play on Linux. Also, you can run a virtual system for those type of ones. Yeah, that's true. And I think it's a jump that I'm probably going to make a little bit down the line. But for now, because I have so many programs that I need to run on Windows, and I don't want to spend money on making a giant Linux tower. I'm just going to hold off for a little bit, but we'll see. I also need to shop around. Well, not shop around, but I don't know what other word to use there. Figure out which distro I want to use for a larger desktop, because I used Ubuntu for my partition on my laptop, but let's go ahead and rename this to room 1. Close. Room 2. And I'm going to try doing something weird. I'm going to say add exit. Room 2. Room 1. Okay, so those are correct. So is it room 3? That's so weird. So it's not what I thought. Is it only on the base node? Oh. Well, at the very least, I can show you what I was talking about earlier, so you can see that it's kind of awkward how they are doubling up. It's very hard to tell that there's two connections there. Um, Although I guess it's actually not too much of a problem because they would have just two different. You know, I don't know. I'd still like them to be two very different connections. Um, well, crap. So I guess I don't know exactly what's causing that issue. Then is it only when we hit 4? That would be a really awkward. Oh my god! It is like when we hit 4. It's the fourth one every time. But why? Huh. Let's see. Tested distros over the last 5 years. I found two would work for Manjaro. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. One of the downsides to Linux is that it does require quite a bit of effort to run everything, and that's always the thing that makes it difficult to switch. I've always said that the most important factor for a lot of people, including myself, most of the time when deciding things is convenience, and Linux is just not nearly as convenient as Windows or Mac. It certainly offers you a lot more freedom because you can customize everything, but that freedom comes at the cost of convenience. So it's very difficult to make that jump. So I'm gonna test it. Is it always the fourth one? I don't know why that would be. That doesn't make sense. New room. So room 1, close. Room 2, close. Let's try adding an exit. That's all fine. It broke. It broke. Why did it break? Huh. So that one wasn't on the fourth. It was on the third. Oh, I bet this is some stupid, tiny, insignificant error. That is just me being stupid. So room 1, close. Shrink this down to room 2. 2, close. Try connecting. Nope. Okay. Nope. Okay. Oh, freak. No, it is there. It might just be because it's not cleaning it up properly. I wonder if that is the case. That could be. That could be. We said that this was coming out of 154. So. So it might have something to do with deleting the nodes. Thought so too, but honestly, it was not that hard at all. Surprisingly, several Linux weeks during preparation period, or needed have worked very easy without issues. Yeah. And as far as the values go, the thing that's getting passed is pretty much just this node, and this node does not contain a lot of information. But I can certainly check the count of my exits. So let me go ahead and do string dot format blah blah blah. We're going to say 0. That's going to be the index, followed by followed by the room info lowercase r exits dot count, so we can at least see what it thinks we're doing. And I suppose actually we'll go ahead and say 2, and this first one is going to be room info freaking relay. Come on, room info dot id, so we can at least tell what node it is also targeting. Okay, so let's try that. Yeah, well, and the problem is that it's I don't think it's a numerical problem. I think it's something to do with the exits. Well, I mean, it's definitely something to do with the exits because the issue is happening on roominfo.exits. We're getting an array exception error, which means that this index is -1, which we've been seeing, which means that it's not finding it. And I think what's happening is that it's not cleaning up the exits properly between the rooms. So it's kind of, I think that there's like a hang on or something that's just still there, and that means it's not getting cleaned up. So, and these room names are purely superficial. It's actually using integers that are established whenever they're created. So this room is room 10. This one is room 11, and the room names are just for our visual human convenience. So room 2, and so now let's test this. So I'm going to add a room. It's going to go to room 2. I'm going to close that. Okay, that's correct. Now I'm going to delete it. Well, it didn't get rid of it. I don't think it knows how. I don't think. Oh, right. It's probably not set up to actually delete it. So that's super weird. But now if I click on room 2, let's go back to 1. Okay. There we go. So I think it's something about adding these rooms after you've already added a room. So they're getting recycled, and when they get brought back in, maybe they're not being properly cleaned up. So let me see. And just to confirm that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make 2 rooms again. I'm going to make one connection on one room, and then I'm going to go to the other room and make another connection. Except, no, that doesn't make sense because we've done that in the past. So unless it's just a fluke. So I'll call this one room 1. Room 2. Okay, let's come over here, add exit. It's going to go to room 2. Yeah, well, that seems to do it. Okay, so let's figure out why adding an exit will do that. Final references on exit edit. Exit node. Hold on. Go to definition here. Let's see where it's being used. Not peak definition. I want to find all references. This on target changed. It could be that the dropdown. Oh, that could be it. It could be that I'm setting the dropdown value when it's spawned in, and maybe that's getting picked up. So it's detecting that I'm manually setting the dropdown value. That's registering as a change. Then it's trying to reset that, but this exit node hasn't yet been assigned. Is that possible? Would that be the reason? Yeah, well, and a lot of it is just keeping everything in my head, making sure that I have an accurate map for everything. So let's go ahead and go down here, find all references. Okay, target dropdown on value changed. Ah, yes. Okay, hold on. Initialize. So I could probably cheat and do this. I really don't want to do that, but I guess I would have to. So I'm going to do private bool initialize equals false. And we're going to come back down here, and we're going to say if not initializing, then we'll do whatever we need to do. Same thing down here, if not initializing. So I think the problem was that since that event was already being listened to and I was manually setting those values whenever I would change, it would throw an error. We'll see if this fixes it though. So we need to come up here to initialize. We're going to say initialize equals true. And then at the very end of it, we're going to set initializing equals false. There we are. In Form 7, I've actually taken a look at a couple of text-based adventure, I guess, suites. I don't know what else I would call them. I think the one I messed with, I actually have it on my desktop. I'm pretty sure it's TADS. But I haven't messed with Inform 7. So a long-winded answer for no. Although I really should. Because basically a lot of the stuff I'm trying to do is sort of make a visual interface for a lot of those functions. So I'm going to call this one room 1, close, drag this over to the left. Not ROM 2, room 2. Okay. Add an exit going over to room 1, or room 2. Okay, that's fine. Shit. It's still screwed up. And I'm guessing that means that it's got a 0 for one of its things. Yeah. It's also interesting, well, not interesting, it's infuriating that you can't serialize dictionaries inside of Unity, so I can't really see what my room associations are. I can go into these room nodes individually in debug mode and check out what their exits are, but aside from that, its target should not be 0, and that's room 2. Can I set that up to be room 1? No, it's... Really? Huh. Well, hold on. So you can see that its ID is 10 and 11. And there it's correct. So let me try dragging this around. Seriously? Oh no, it's correct. This is a third one. Huh. Okay. So this is just one floating out in space for some reason. It's connected to 11 and 0. Okay. Inform is the most advanced. It's stupidly good and intuitive. Also, you can expand it with mods and debug in real time. Natural language. Yeah, it's... I need to dig more into those things just to see what they're doing in certain situations. A lot of what I'm trying to do is basically strip out or change it so that it's not weird pseudo programming that you do. Because I know things like TADS and Form do actually let you script, but the way that they handle their room information is kind of weird to me. What the hell? My first room is now non-responsive. That's interesting. Oh, I bet I know what it is. Yep. Ah, really? Oh my god. I feel foolish. Um, well, that's a good thing I found that. That's just an oversight on my fault. Um, so there's actually an invisible object over these, and it's catching raycasts. Hold on, I'll show it to you. Let's see. Toolbar, I believe, is what I want. Developer info area, legend area, and let's get out of debug mode real quick. So if I fade this in, you can see it, and that's why they can't be clicked on anymore. So I guess I don't want that to... Oh, that's so annoying. So I guess I don't want it to block raycast if it's got an alpha of 0. So let's fix that in code real quick. Room 1 is a room. Room 2 is a room. 2 rooms created. Yeah, it's... I know it is convenient, but at the same time, like me as someone who's developing things, I understand how intuitive that is, but also it's kind of weird to me. I don't quite know why. Like it all makes sense, and then at the same time, it's all also kind of frustrating. I don't know. It's a weird thing whenever I look at it, and it could just be my own personal like quirks that mean that it doesn't quite register right with me. But I did want to have, the reason I'm doing this custom stuff is I did want to have stuff like the map, so you can visualize your entire game with nodes and all of that. And it'd be really cool if I could do something like print map or something like that, so you can spit it out as a PNG and then share that with people. But we'll see how we'll see how well that goes. I don't know if that's gonna end up looking all right or not. Anyway, before I forget, we're gonna come over here, and I think we want to go to, let's see, our legend area. Find all references to this. And I guess it's just under fade area. Okay. So we're gonna go to definition, fade coroutine, fade area coroutine. Go to definition. And I suppose for now we're just going to try this. If fade in area dot blocks raycast equal true, else area dot blocks raycast equals false. Okay. If formatting became borked. It's easy. We're basically conditioned to think abstract and complicated, but as soon as you start doing things in natural language, something becomes too easy. Yeah, I think that actually could be basically why I'm kind of turned off of things like that way of coding. Is because as soon as I start working in it, my programmer brain is like, "This is so weird. You're not constantly saying what everything needs to be, and it's trying to interpret for you." It's the same reason why I kind of have issues when I'm programming in JavaScript, because it's so forgiving that it becomes annoying to actually do anything. So let's try this. Good, 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 good. So now I can actually drag over in that area. And then if I show this, I can no longer do so. But I can after it goes away, which makes me happy. Now the real question is, can I do it now? Oh good, I can. Nice. So, cool. So that fixed that little problem. Although that doesn't fix our much bigger problem that we've been working on. So let's see. What was our issue? Or rather, our secondary issue. Because I don't remember. I don't think we had a null reference exception, or not a null reference, an error with the index out of range exception. I think it was just that we had an extra node floating around, or an extra connection. So room 1, close. Room 2. That's why the majority of all coding has to be done by machines. Yeah, I suppose that's true. Okay, so we have an exit. Seriously? Like the very first one is just borked. And then if I change it, oh, actually, you know what? I guess for room 1. Yeah, okay. Oh, crap. That's why. Yeah. So oh boy. So this isn't getting cleaned up, which is fine, because I haven't actually done any sort of cleanup yet. But I think that's the problem. Whenever I update an exit, or update a room and all of its exits, it probably needs to basically get rid of this. So I'm going to come up here to room connection, and I'm going to say, what do I want to do? Let's go ahead and say public void initialize do anything for now, but we will have an event. Public delegate void on room node lost. Just because I want to sound dramatic. It's going to pass a room connection, and that's all I really need to do. So this is going to be public. Oh, and that's the event. I probably should just call this one connection event. So public event, connection event, on room node lost equals delegate. We should look into another editor engine language to Twine. So Twine. I don't know what it is about Twine, but something about Twine just like I hate Twine. It's like a dark area for some reason for me. I hate Twine. From the very first day I ever booted up Twine and saw its interface and what it was supposed to do and the entire purpose behind Twine, I've hated it. I don't know why. There's legitimately no reason for me to hate it as much as I do. And it baffles me that I do, but I hate it. With the passion of 1,000 suns, it, burning deep within my soul. I don't like Twine. Anyway, so I'm going to say on room node lost. I'm going to pass this. But if I had to take a stab at it, the reason that I don't really like Twine is because I feel so there's and this is going to sound terrible coming from me who's not a Uber programmer or anything like that. Like I don't make my own game engines, but inherently when you start using other people's tools, it is very easy to fall into a bit of a rut. Like you don't have to really develop your own systems. You don't have to develop sort of a varied language for what you need to do. And Twine, I feel, is great for choose your own adventure games, but that's, and it's got a lot of other narrative things that it can do, but it's so dull what people tend to do with it. And yeah, they can dress things up with like, CSS, and they can have good writing in there, but it's just at the end of the day, it feels, I don't know, boring. And it's bad to, I feel it's bad to say that just because, it's great that it's getting people interested in game development and giving them tools to do so. But I feel like if you give people just a little bit more complex controls to let them do more interesting things, then it becomes something better. So it just, I don't know. I don't know. Twine just rubs on me wrong. And again, I say that with full knowledge that I'm using a game engine that I did not make, and therefore I am beholden to things like that myself, just on a broader scope. So I don't know. It's a weird thing with me. Yeah. I don't know. It's just bizarre. Like there's nothing else I've run into game development wise that has made me as revulsed, like just revulsed in disgust as much as Twine does. Anyway, so I need to come up here to custom game map view, and then whenever I create a new connection, I need to actually do something with that. So I'm going to say on node clicked. I'm going to say private void on connection cleared, I guess. Room connection. We're gonna come up here. I'm gonna say connection dot lost plus equal connection cleared. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. But yeah, I have looked at Twine, and I just get frustrated with it whenever I have to work with it. I think part of it is just because of the syntax that you have to do to type things, which is part of the reason why I don't like things like Inform, actually. Or rather, I'm not a huge fan of them. I just hate typing things into the description to make it go places. I feel like it's better to have things discreetly be in chunks. But that's, again, I think that's part of just the programmer in me. Have I played Dwarf Fortress? Not in an eternity, and I only played it very briefly. But I do know what it is. So let's go to on connection cleared. Go to definition. Okay, so now we're going to have to. Oh crud! This is gonna suck. Actually, no, it's fine. We're gonna say. Room connection. Oh crap! I called them node connections. Node connections of. Actually, before we do that, we're gonna say if node connections dot contains key connection dot base room ID. Then if node connections dot contains key connection dot target room ID. Same thing. Basically, we're going to look through our list of connections, or our dictionary of connections associated with rooms, and say, we want to remove this connection from your list. Don't worry about it anymore. So we're going to say if node connections of connection dot base room ID dot contains connection. Then we'll say node connections of connection dot base room ID dot remove connection. All right, simple as that. Same thing down here. Let's see, contains connection target room ID. And then finally, we're going to say connection. Can't type connection dot on loss minus equals on connection cleared. All right. It's all this nesting within nesting and so on. Yeah. No, I mean Dwarf Fortress is kind of like the. I guess I don't want to say your example or example because it wasn't the first game to do a lot of stuff like that, but it's certainly probably the most prominent game to do that sort of weird, like very complex gameplay that you have to keep track of absolutely everything, and if you don't, then a cat is going to throw up and all of your guys will get sick. Anyway, then once we're done with that, we're going to have to actually recycle it. So we're going to say pool manager dot recycle connection dot game object. And before we do that, we're going to want to say connections dot remove connection. Okay. So that should basically take care of it, I want to say. And we're going to find out. So we're going to say debug.log connection.name. And the reason I'm going to debug the name is because up here in generate connections, or I guess in initialize, we're going to just do a little quick compilation specific thing. Say if editor and if name is equal to name plus all this fun stuff. String dot. I guess we'll just do this. String dot format 0. Oops. 1. Type apparently 1, 2, and then name and base node dot name. Or I guess actually we'll do base node dot room data target node room data name. There we are. That way it just that way it just visually shows up in our inspector. Make it a little bit easier to see. How are you going to sell this game if that's what you're going to do? It's actually been greenlit on Steam, which I feel terrible about because I didn't expect it to be greenlit that fast. So I thought it was going to take like a year or something to get it up there. And that just means once it's done, it'll be up on Steam. Well, not immediately after, I guess, but fairly soon after it's done, it will be up on Steam. Okay, so let's go ahead and test this out. So we're going to make a new room. Call this one room 1. Close. But the general idea for as far as distribution goes is I have a demo up on my website, well, up on the game's website. And exit to room 2, hit close. And the idea is, since I'm working with a genre from, the 1980s, I wanted to use a distribution model from the 1980s as well, meaning, okay, so let's go to room 2. So the first 2 levels of the game will actually be free via the demo. And then if you like the demo, you can buy the full game, and you can pick up right where you left off. So, and the best part about all those coding changes that we made is that we won't know if they actually didn't work. Well, no, we'll know if they didn't work. But if they did work, then we won't actually have any sort of weird discrepancy. So it looks like it's fine. And it looks like we did fix the issue because we're not getting any sort of errors getting thrown out. Let's go ahead and add a new room. Call this one like library or lobby. Let's add an exit while we're in here. Add it to the lobby. Does that work? Okay, good. Everything's working. Close. All right, I think we fixed our issue then. So I think if there's something else that we'd want to, let's see. You should sell it in a very nice design box with feelies. I would like to do feelies, but I don't have money for physical things. But I was thinking about doing something like a couple of digital feelies hidden away in the game. So I don't know, like a weird novel or journal or something that's basically like the instruction booklet. But we'll see what I come up with for that. Because I love stuff like that. Like that's one of my favorite things about games is when they come with things like that. Check a game called Tank Universal on Steam. It's a good example of what it's basically you can do in this page. All right. So we got. Oh, hold on. Okay, never mind. So we have how many connections do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only have 4 here. So one of these is not like the other. And it is, I think it's this one. Yep, because it's between itself and itself. Crap. Ah, jeez. You know what? That sucks because that means that I need to have a connection type that is different from just drawing a straight line. I need like a circular one that would loop back in on itself. Oh dear. Well, that's super fun. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing is like a lot of the I guess art inspiration for a cover would probably be from like Zork 1 or Zork 2, where they don't really have any actual art. It's just the title and then maybe some stuff in there that's very light, but no characters or anything like that. Because I remember that Infocom actually complained when they did some ports. Some of the creators were mad that they actually did stuff like draw a generic barbarian guy on the front or a generic adventurer guy because they didn't want to have the player coming in with preconceptions on what their character should be. They thought that they should, just make it up from their imagination, basically. Anyway, so yeah, with the whole referencing itself thing, that is technically a valid connection. So connecting room 3 to room 3, basically having a room cycle in on itself, that's a perfectly valid thing to do. However, it is not functioning as it should. And that is because it's trying to draw a straight line to itself, which means that I need to actually have a special connection that's basically like a go up and then loops back down to come back into itself, probably facing whatever direction it's coming out of. So that's not great. Um, mm, yeah. Yep. Well, crap. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to think about that. Um, you should use ASCII art. Well, if it's ASCII art that you want, I will show you something that I've been working on real quick. And while I'm doing that, so I think we're probably going to end the stream here, just because of the extra connection stuff that I would have to do. But we got pretty far. We got our connections drawing, and we got the errors, I think, ironed out. Anyway, to show you quickly what I've been working on. So I do have ASCII art. This is something I've been experimenting with for the past week or so. Well, technically the past 2.5 weeks for Markov chain generation. But yeah, we have books that you can read, and they will have ASCII art on them. And that's something else I've been tinkering with, is just having text effects, so different things in the world can have ASCII art associated with them. What happens if some of the connections are conditional, like a key is needed or something moved or used or carried? So that's something that I'm working on, actually. I do have. It's not functional yet, but I do have things like conditional checks, and that's going to come in a little bit later. Currently, I don't quite have everything set up for that yet, because the idea to start off with is we want to get room set up, then navigation between rooms set up, and then the ability to test. And from there, we're going to add things like conditional checks, item checks, picking up items, inventory, all that stuff. But yeah, so if we go to a new room, and we, let's go ahead and add a second room just to be sure. We add an exit. So currently we only have direction and the room ID, or the room name, and then that's associated with an ID. But later on, we're going to have a little drop down here that's going to be like conditionals. So you can say, you can go north here to this room only if, I don't know, it's a blue moon out. And if it's not, then you go to a different spot, or you can't go that way, or whatever, basically. So there will be conditionals, but it's not in there yet. And yeah. Yep, in exactly that case, there will be conditional checks. That's something that's planned. It's just not in there yet, because we're still getting the basics of custom game generation and parsing and all that stuff working. And hello, there's a null reference. Hello. So where did you come from? You came from there. Okay. Well. I'm going to go ahead and go to initialize final references. I suppose that means I need to actually say if copy these over, is equal to null, or is equal to null. And we will continue here as well. So if either of its nodes are null, we're just going to skip past it. Oh, right, I need to stop playing. Problem with north-south and such is that they are absolute. So as far as relative to Well, what do you mean by relative to player position? This level editor stuff. This is purely for an actual text-based adventure. Um, so you pretty much only have the card. Oh, and also the stuff that's being displayed right now: north, south, east, and west. There's also up, down, um, left and right, forward and back, and pretty much those are going to be the limits. So up, down, left, right, forward, back, and then north, south, east, and west, as well as I guess northeast, southwest, blah 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 blah, all that stuff. So the compass directions and then relative to your x, y, and z axes, but I don't particularly think that there would be much else besides that. Um, I might be able to add support for custom ones in the future, but for now, I think those would be plenty. Um, Also, I guess into and out of can be directions, but aside from that, that should be it. Will you be able to cut off connections? Say a player goes to an open door, the room then shift to another dimension, and the connection is broken, others are connected. Something in space where cardinal direction can have no meaning. Well, I guess in cases like that, if you're thinking about like a room, because think about it in the sense of everything is a room. Every area is a room with a connection to a different room. Um, Even if you're in space, yes, technically you don't have an actual sense of direction because anything could mean any direction really. But in that case, it would be more of a design issue, or um, it would be as simple as not specifying any exits for a direction that you don't want them to go. In which case, it's just going to say like you cannot go that way. Um, or you'll eventually be able to customize that to say like if you're in space, you float helplessly away from a direction or whatever. So yeah, there's going to be a pretty a good amount of control over every exit that the player will be able to exercise. Um, and as far as cutting off connections, that would be as simple as doing the contextual checks again. So if you go through a door, you can say once you go through this door, set a variable to be false so that you can't go back, and then you can output a message saying like the door locks behind you. You're warped to a different dimension, in which case you're moved to a different. You're just in a different room, and that room does not need a way back. And that's the thing to show you what I mean. So let's go ahead and say like um, lobby and basement. Let's go ahead and close this. And we're going to add a connection to the basement. Hit close. And let's say that this direction is. I'm going to say. I guess I only have those 4 to choose from for now, but it's fine. And hold on, I want to make sure that this did not get any extra connections. Good. So let's say that you had a trap door in the lobby that led to the basement. Um, since this connection, this exit is only from the lobby to the basement, we can simply say the basement has no knowledge that you can go back up to go to the lobby. You have to manually specify that going up will get you to the lobby while you're in the basement. So this doesn't have an exit going up. So to get that to function, I would have to add an exit going to the lobby. And then it can do that. But although it doesn't look like it actually made that. So that's not great. Huh. There we go. Weird. Okay, well that's something to keep an eye on. So you're standing in a corridor. What is north or south in such a case? Compass. Change to newer ones. More natural say go forward or go back. Yeah, and in those cases, it would be as simple as just adding another exit. So if you wanted to go north or forward, you would just add an exit and say go forward. Um, so the north, south, east, and west thing is more because it's a staple of the genre to have those cardinal directions, but they're not necessary. You don't have to specify go north or go south. If you don't specify, by default, it'll spit out a little sentence that'll say like you can't go that way, or thick thorns block your path, or whatever you can think of really. Um, that message is going to be customizable per room, or actually, I guess per default, and then per room if you want. And I guess actually per exit. Uh, in Inform, you solve dilemmas like this by adding new words on the fly, like this. Understand forward, like north. Understand backward like south. Yeah, so there is support. It's not, again, I don't have a visual interface for it yet, but direction is actually a dynamic enum. So if you want to add a direction, then you can easily map that. And I'm also leaning towards adding, and we haven't gotten this far yet. Um, Basically, you'll have like a thesaurus for your dictionary. So if you type north or south or whatever, if you type north or forward, it will say use these in the same direction because they mean the same thing technically. Um, so there is going to be some support for that. We're not quite to that level yet because again we're just starting out, getting everything like even visual working. Um, so we'll see what that ends up looking like because that is one of the nice things that text based creation engines can do is that you can sort of just type one sentence and have it work like that. But with more visual interfaces like this, it does become more of a challenge because I need to figure out a way that it's understandable and intuitive for you to say like, I want this word to be treated like this word, and all of that stuff. And that's stuff I'm tinkering with, but I haven't quite gotten it done yet. So it's on the way. But yes, that is a valid concern. I am accounting for it, but I haven't gotten there yet. Because there's a whole dictionary to this, and the current idea is that you have a default dictionary that's going to be the basic TextQuest game dictionary, but you'll be able to create your own dictionary with your own words, with your own word types and all of that stuff if you want to do so, and you'll be able to import that. And it'll use that as your game's dictionary. So, um, yeah, and as far as localizations go, I don't even know if that's technically possible, really, because my parser is very much based on English. It's not the words that matter; it's the structure. For example, it's going to look for. Uh, let me think. 'Cause it's a monster at this point. It's going to look for specific syntax, so it's going to look for. Um, well, actually, no. I guess it's fairly forgiving. I think you can do stuff like you can do book read or read book, I believe. But just to make sure that I'm not super crazy, let me double check that. So I think I can run up this cube right here and say read book, and it'll do that. I think I can also do book read. Yeah. So it's somewhat forgiving, but I do worry that in more complex languages, like trying to do Arabic, would probably be pretty tough. You might be able to get away with things like the Latin languages. I don't know about German. Um, that might be a little bit tough just because of syntax, and I would think things like Japanese would not fly at all, really. It also doesn't help that I would have to support those fonts. That's going to be tough. But in any case, so uh, all right. Well, and like I said, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's just that I personally cannot guarantee that it will work because of how syntax works. Um, and you also got to get into things like what it's going to try to do to interpret for you, because the parser is not just literally read or verb noun. It's stuff like read the book. If this book was read, you could say read the read book. Um, but then that gets into problems because read book in English adjectives almost always precede nouns, unless you're phrasing it weird. Like read the book that is read is a valid sentence, but it's a very weird way of phrasing it. And currently, if I said something like read the book that is read, it would say that read was used in a weird way because it's not in front of a noun. Um, so it tries to guide you syntactically, and in that case, it would be kind of weird. So other languages where you have things like the verb at the end of the sentence after all of the nouns and adjectives, like Japanese has a very different structure to English. I know that, and it would be very different. But I don't know. I'm not a linguist, so I can't guarantee, or really I guess I don't know, I guess I could stipulate, but mostly because I know that it's geared towards English. But in either case, I'd be interested to see what people could do with it, in non-English languages. Um, so let me go back to my splash fade. I need to get some screenshots. So yeah, and like I said, I think some will work. I just can't. I cannot guarantee if someone asked me like, "Will this work with Swedish?" I would probably say like, "I don't know if it'll work with Swedish." Um, but yeah, there's a whole system for the dictionary stuff. So I'm gonna get some rooms going up here. So room one, close. Room two, close. Let's go to lobby. All right, so let's add some exits. I still need to fix that drop down issue. Ah, crap. So that's interesting. We have only one connection again. Hmm. That's really weird. Well, in any case, let's go ahead and add one more room. And let's say, I don't know, I guess not attic. Library. We'll do attic. I haven't done attic yet. Let's close this out. Add an exit going to the attic. I spelled attic wrong. I feel like I spelled that wrong. I always second guess my spell phone spellings now. Okay, yeah, no K. I thought that looked wrong. I'm bad at spelling, which is great because I'm making a text-based game, so you know it's perfect. Let's get a screenshot, and that's probably good. Could make user-definable syntax for languages. That would be something that would be interesting, but it would be it would be difficult for me to do that. Like I said, I'm not an expert linguist, so I don't know what I would need to really expose syntactically, and also that means I would have to try to read in all of that stuff for the parser to understand it. Um, I don't know. We'll see what I end up coming up with, because you know obviously the more flexible I can make things, the better off it would be. But it'll be a bit of a challenge to do all of that. But I'm always thinking about what I can do. So, in any case, I think that's a pretty good spot to end for today. We got room connections working, and they actually spawn in and update their positions. Uh, there's still a couple of steps to go to really make them flexible and actually a little bit more customizable. We got to get a self-referencing connection so that it can rotate back in on itself. We need to get connection colors. That way you can adjust each connection to make it a little bit easier for you to say, like, all of these connections are going between the forest, and all of these connections are going between the volcano, and all of these connections are going between the great library or whatever. And you can try to have like rough colors for all of them. Um, Again, obviously that's all for your own convenience as a human being who can't keep track of all the data in your head. But it's better to have that than not have it, or have it then and not need it, than need it and not have it. That whole thing. So, simply brainstorming. Yeah, I mean that's fair. It's always fun to hear what people think and what they want, because that just gives me more ideas. Although I guess that does make me take longer, but still. Yeah. Okay. Yep, I think that's a pretty good spot to stop for the day. Should be back again on Tuesday. We'll be doing some more of that book Markov chain generation, um, and getting the ASCII art and the book interactions to actually feel nice. So, do I have any other announcements? Not off the top of my head. So, as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching. Alien Gamer, thank you for stopping by. I love chatting. That was a nice chat. Um, and yeah, thank everyone for watching, and I will see you all next time.